Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do have a public hearing first that will begin with, but I ask you please stand for pledge to the flag first. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a 7 o'clock public hearing on the 2017 benefit assessment districts. I'll read the notice of public hearing. Please take notice the Town Board of the Town of Cornwall will hold the required annual public hearings on the 10th day of October 2017 at 7 o'clock p.m. at Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Cornwall, New York, on the benefit assessment district for 2017 in the Town of Cornwall as follows. Cornwall Refuse District, Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District, Firth Cliff Sewer District, Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, Majestic Sewer District, Hidden Glen Drainage District, Main Street Parking District, and Stone Hollow Drainage District. Town Board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Person may appear in person or by agent. All written communication addressed to the Board must be received by the Board at or prior to the public hearings. By order of the Town Board, Town of Cornwall, Renata McGee, Town Clerk. I do want to note that we've received 3 letters from property owners. One is from Robert Williams, and there's a second one from Jeffrey Fitzgerald, and the third one is from Robert Merrill Jr. Now, I will read for the record each district and number of parcels and units for each. Cornwall Refuse District, 3,449 parcels, 39,770 units. Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District, 140 parcels, 1,658 units. Firth Cliff Sewer District, 358 parcels, 447 units. Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, 190 parcels, 1,909 units. Majestic Sewer District, 3 parcels, 25 units. Hidden Glen Drainage District, 14 parcels, 14 units. Main Street Parking District, 40 parcels, 39 units. Stone Hollow Drainage District, 29 parcels, 29 units. I do want to, what we're going to do is really open the public hearing for all of the districts simultaneously. This is kind of a difficult process of benefit assessment districts. So I just want to give a brief explanation of what it is, because there is a misconception as to what exactly this process is. For each of those districts, the property owners gets a notice that if they're in that district, that the board will hear any concerns that they have with regard to the charges, the number of units that are based on their property. And I think one of the best examples that I try to use for this is if you own a lot and it's obviously in a sanitation district and you're being charged sanitation charges. If that lot is a wetland and will never be built on, so therefore you would never benefit from any sanitation services, this would be the opportunity to come to the town board and tell the board, I do have a lot, it's not a building lot, it's wetland, it'll never require any sanitation services, and the board can then remove that property from the charge for sanitation. So that's the gist of what this is. It's not affecting how high your assessment is or how much you're paying in taxes or anything of that nature. This is strictly an opportunity to bring to the board's attention what might be an error or something, a change in a property that would cause that kind of a service. So having said that, I'm going to declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak at the hearing. Yes, if you just give your name to the clerk.
Maurice Stengline. Do I have to stand up?
If you would.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did send a letter a week ago. I have a copy of it here. My residence on Howard Street in Cornwall, according to the comparable sales report that I found online, it says that I have a full basement, which I do, but it's unfinished.
Right, but that has nothing to do with,
What we're talking about today?
absolutely nothing.
Okay, so
That's a matter, if there's a mistake in the data, that's within the assessor's office.
so it's only charges.
This is only for, similar to the example that I gave you, if you're in a benefit district, then you will never benefit from that for a specific reason. But if you have an error in the data that's on file, you should contact the assessor's office and,
I did send a letter, so
Okay.
that's all I needed to do?
I would follow up with a phone call and just make
Okay.
sure they received it, and then I would, make an appointment and go in and make sure the card is corrected.
Okay?
Okay? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Tommy Martin. Is this supposed to have to do with sewage or just garbage?
No, this is, I read all the districts, and it's refuse, it's sewer districts, it's drainage districts, and parking district.
All right. My house sits on Cornwall property. I have a small piece of parcel next to the house. I'm so close to the New Windsor line. And a small piece of my property runs in New Windsor. I pay Beaver Dam Lake on my taxes, sewer service. I pay that every year. And a few years ago, I got a letter from the attorney in New Windsor, who I've seen several times, talked to, sent letters, and for that little piece of property that runs alongside of my property, which the main sewer line apparently runs under, they also want to bill me for sewer charge. I've gone to him numerous times in the last few years since I've gotten the letter. He said, we moved in 1988, and he said, the letter reads that we noticed since 1988 till just a few years ago, you haven't been paying New Windsor sewer. I said, I called him, faxed him all, a copy of the tax form showing Cornwall or Beaver Dam Lake sewer service was on my bill. And he said, well, he has to get together with the town supervisor and the town attorney from Cornwall to make up their mind what they're going to do with it. So since then, I've been getting quarterly statements with a tax amount attached to it.
From New Windsor.
From New Windsor.
Right.
Plus, I've been paying my taxes to Cornwall, which states on it Beaver Dam Sewer Service on it.
Right.
And I've been paying that tax bill every year. I have not paid anything to them. Every time I speak to him, he assures me that they're going to get together and work this out, because he said New Windsor put the sewer lines in up there. I said, I don't disagree with that, but why should I pay two sewer bills?
Right.
One to Cornwall and one to New Windsor.
Well, the one to your house is in Cornwall.
My
correct?
house is in Cornwall.
Right, so you are receiving sewer service from Cornwall. You're connected to the Beaver Dam Lake sewer.
Beaver Dam Lake Service,
Right.
that's
So-
how they list it. They don't
Exactly,
say
so
Cornwall.
you are paying your taxes rightfully to the town of Cornwall for the service.
Correct,
Now,
correct.
the lot that's over the New Windsor line, I don't know if that's designated as a building lot, or if it's
No,
just a sliver.
It's 15 foot wide by 150 foot deep.
Sir, I'll tell you what, if you call my office tomorrow, I'd be happy to speak to New Windsor on that specific parcel
Can I
to
get
see.
a card from you? Do you have a business card?
On the agenda, right here. You got this.
On the agenda.
top there?
On the
Yeah.
agenda, yeah.
Just give me a call and come in, and
And
we'll
I
talk
don't mean
about
to be
it.
impolite, and your name is?
Richard Randazzo,
Okay,
town supervisor.
all right.
Okay, if you call me, I'd be happy to sit down with you, and we'll talk to New Windsor and find out how they handle that sliver that
I've
you
been
have.
talking to the town attorney in New Windsor for years now, and he keeps telling me they're gonna resolve it.
Well, let's see if we can resolve it.
Thank you
From
very
our
much.
end. Okay? Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, hearing no one, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt? Yes. Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, we have approval of minutes, September 11th, regular meeting, September 14th, special meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Move second, discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Public comment, agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item? Yes.
My name is Carla Castillo. I'm speaking on the Route 218 cleanup. We checked the itinerary from last year, and last year's cleanup was from 8 to 10 a.m., so we'd like to adjust the cleanup time to 8 to 10 a.m. It is a better time, particularly if the Route 218 is going to be open, and it makes it safer for all the folks who will be cleaning up. And we already have a TV to take away, apparently. So, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing public comment? Okay. First item on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the, actually 2018 Benefit Assessment District. Whereas heretofore, the Town of Cornwall held a public hearing on benefit assessment districts for 2018 on the following districts: Cornwall Refuge District, Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District, Firth Cliff Sewer District, Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, Majestic Sewer District, Hidden Glen Drainage District, Main Street Parking District, and Stone Hollow Drainage District. And whereas after the Town Board reviewed all the comments by the public hearings were closed, therefore be it resolved as follows. The Town Board does hereby adopt the 2018 Benefit Assessment District goals as submitted. Is there a motion on the resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes. Motion's carried. Next item on the discussion on the proposed historic museum building. We had asked our attorney to research a couple of questions that had come up with regard to the town's relationship to the Cornwall Historical Society and whether the town can own and operate a local history museum. The attorney has researched that with some extensive comments here, which I thank him for. Clearly indicates that the town has the powers to protect, enhance, and preserve historical artifacts and materials, extend to establishing space dedicated to housing, displaying historical and antique pieces. And it's clear that the town may establish a local history museum. He does go on to say, if the information will there appear to be some confusion as to the nature of the local history museum being proposed. Particularly, some members of the public questioned how the town could build a museum for the Cornwall Historical Society. The town, of course, cannot build a museum for the Cornwall Historical Society, but it can build a local history museum for the town and enter into a contract with the Cornwall Historical Society for the society to operate the museum for the town. Such a contract would provide for the Historical Society to have either the right or the obligation, depending on the town's preference, to display the historic artifacts and materials that it owns. Having the Historical Society operate the museum saves the town the expense of hiring town employees to do so. The board has discussed this, and obviously as a result of the informational meeting, which certainly the purpose is to gather information, we talked about, and I've discussed this with the Historical Society, the town attorney is drafting an agreement which would be between the town and the Historical Society for exactly what the attorney outlined, that the town has the right to do in forming that relationship. And also I discussed with the Historical Society that in the event that the Historical Society dissolves, which we hope they don't do, but if they did dissolve sometime in the future, that the town would then own all of the historical artifacts that the Historical Society has acquired over the many years. So the town could greatly benefit. First of all, I hope the Historical Society is around for a long time and has a long history. But the town would certainly benefit not only from the work that would be done now, but there's some, I think, protection and assurance to the community that all the efforts that the town and the Historical Society put into collecting the artifacts and having the museum and operating it, that
If I could, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just so we're clear, the contract that we're drafting, and I'll circulate it to all the board before next month's meeting, isn't for the museum, it's for the room that they currently have in town hall. And so we would just memorialize that relationship and add, like Dick says, the provision regarding the historical items going to the town in the event of a dissolution. But it isn't for the museum, it's for town hall.
No, it's for the relationship between the Historical Society and the town.
Right.
So obviously, if we did have a building and the occupancy changed, we could certainly amend the contract. But I think the whole point of it is that there's a great benefit to come to the community as a result of a strong relationship with the Historical Society. I credit them for amassing several thousand items, actually, that I find, pretty astonishing when I go in and just see some of the things dating back so many years. And, some of the more recent things in recent decades, sort of, you can see, you can feel that history that's there when you look at the items that they do have. So we will have that draft, hopefully by our work session. We can review that and enter into it. The other thing that we talked about is, to create an ad hoc group to work with the town board to gather and review information on the proposal to create a historic museum building. I'm proposing that the group would consist of 7 members, including a liaison from the town board. And if the board is in agreement, we will accept letters from residents interested in serving on that group over the next month. So, we're all in agreement? We need anything further at this point?
You might want to just formalize it in a motion to accept applications for appointment to the Historic Museum ad hoc group.
Is there a motion to move forward with the group? Moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. The next item is regarding the Cornwall Central School District, working with the American Legion, has secured a plaque honoring Lieutenant George W.G. Boyce, Jr., who was a resident of the town of Cornwall and graduated from Cornwall High School when it was the high school on Willow Avenue. The district is going to dedicate the plaque at Willow Avenue at 6:30 p.m. on October 23rd. And I have a resolution that I'd like to read with regard to Lieutenant Boyce and the dedication. Whereas George W.G. Boyce, Jr., a resident of the town of Cornwall, New York, and Medal of Honor recipient, served as a second lieutenant in the United States Army, 112th Cavalry Regimental Combat Team in World War II. And Lieutenant Boyce's official Medal of Honor citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty near Afua, New Guinea on 23 July 1944. Second Lieutenant Boyce's troop, having been ordered to the relief of another unit surrounded by superior enemy forces, moved down upon gaining contact with the enemy. The 2 leading platoons deployed and built up a firing line. Second Lieutenant Boyce was ordered to attack with his platoon and make the main effort on the right of the troop. He launched his attack, but after a short advance encountered such intense rifle, machine gun, and mortar fire that the forward movement of his platoon was temporarily halted. A shallow depression offered a route of advance, and he worked his squad up this avenue of approach in order to close with the enemy. He was promptly met by a volley of hand grenades, one falling between himself and the men immediately following. Realizing at once that the explosion would kill or wound several of his men, he promptly threw himself upon the grenade and smothered the blast with his own body. By thus deliberately sacrificing his life to save those of his men, this officer exemplified the highest traditions of the U.S. Armed Forces. Whereas for this heroic act in battle, Lieutenant Boyce was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor 9 months later on April 7, 1945. Whereas Lieutenant Boyce was a graduate of Cornwall High School, now Willow Avenue Elementary School, and the Willow Avenue Elementary School faculty and students wish to honor Lieutenant Boyce and commemorate his bravery and service by installing a plaque at the school. Now therefore be resolved as follows. 1, that it is fitting and proper that on behalf of the residents of the town of Cornwall, that the Cornwall Town Board joins in this well-deserved recognition of Lieutenant George W.G. Boyce, Jr., and does hereby designate October 23, 2017 as Lieutenant George W.G. Boyce, Jr. Day in the town of Cornwall. And 2, that the town board hereby directs that the certified copy of this resolution be prepared in recognition of his exemplary service and with a sincere thanks from all the citizens of Cornwall. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Peter, second Helen. Discussion,
What time did you say?
6:30 p.m. on October 23rd at the Willow Avenue School. Moving second, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion's carried. I do have some really good news for the town. Under state grant, the town for the past few years has been conducting I&I study of the Cornwall sewer collection system, which is inflow and infiltration. And the engineers were just about, we're finishing up the evaluation, the analysis of the system to identify areas that need upgrading and renovation, and to prevent water from entering into the collection system and then having to go through the plant. And in the spring, we became aware that there was a round of funding that would be available, and Councilman Russell and I met with our consultants because we were up against a short deadline for submitting for this round of grants, but we all agreed that it was worth doing, having the extra engineering done and putting the extra effort in, rather than missing a round of potential funding. So we went ahead and working with the consultants, and I commend all the consultants for really stepping up and put the extra effort into it. We put the application package together, we sent it into the state, and it's grants that the state had put together for vital water infrastructure improvements in the Mid-Hudson Valley. And I'm pleased to say I received a call last week from the governor's office as well as from Senator Larkin that the town of Cornwall has been awarded a grant in the amount of $1.751 million towards the I&I project. The project is probably a $6 or $7 million project, but believe me, getting this kind of funding in a grant today, as difficult as it is a real boost for the taxpayers. So I know I spoke with Senator Larkin, and I know he worked hard to get the amount increased for this program in Albany, and really fought, to really get some of this money to Cornwall, because obviously the senator lives here, but he also realizes that it's a challenge. I mean, we're faced with right now, I think the first phase one, we probably have a total of the repairs from Irene with the phase one of the sewer plant is about $6 million that we have a capital investment in. That's in the works right now. We have the I&I project, and then we have a phase two that's probably going to come in 2020 for the sewer plant, which could easily be another $6 million. So we're looking at, the most amount of money, and I say this having been here a long time, I think the town's indebtedness probably rarely exceeded more than $4 million or $4.5 million. But when we're done over the next 5 years with the sewer plant, which is all being mandated by the DEC, we're going to be in excess of $15 million just for the sewer projects that we're working on. But we have no choice. We're moving ahead, and we're trying to be as conservative as we can in getting the projects done. But we appreciate the grant, and again, I want to emphasize, we appreciate our consultants' work in really fast-tracking the application package to get this funding.
Can I ask a related question?
Sure.
What activity is going on right now with this sewage plant?
Phase one, the upgrades of it. The phase one was based, I think, pretty much on Irene with the flooding the town experienced, 4 or 5 feet of water. So a big part of this, matter of fact, the whole thing turned out being resiliency, trying to raise up the facility so that if there is another event where we did get flooded from the Hudson River, that we would not be as impacted with that. So that's really what the first phase, and I think they're doing some other work on the mechanical.
Yeah, some kind of excavation.
That's a chlorination tank that's in the back. It's a big area. It's another way of treating the sewage and all as part of the upgrades. And then I think the next phase is going to be digesters and some of the other mechanics of it. But the plant was built in the mid-'60s, so it served us well, but now we have to pay back some of that. Town of Phillipstown, we have a letter Phillipstown wrote to the town because we border our communities meet, I believe, somewhere in the middle of the Hudson River, right, Irene, right? So they just notified us that they're looking at, I think, a cell tower in their community, and also they just really notified the town, but it had no direct impact on us that we can see.
No, it's east of Route 9 and south of Cornwall.
Right, we're not gonna see that. Assessing revaluation update. We completed obviously the revaluation that we went through and was completed in the spring and over the summer. And one of the things that the town board has been talking about is how do we try and maintain that 100% equalization rate that we have. And I'd like to point out that out of 29 taxing jurisdictions, basically in Orange County, 25 of them are not at 100%. So it's not an easy thing to do, even if you do a reval. It's a challenge because nobody has the magic formula as to what process you go through to really keep the values up to the 100%. Carrie and I, following up last month's meeting, we met with the state officials, and right now what I just want to mention is that the state is going to run a review of more recent sales and do an evaluation that way, and they're going to give that information to the town so we can see right now, because the sales were based on through 2016, July, but they're going to take the more recent sales. And what they hope to show us is that, you know, we've changed a lot, we've changed a little, or we haven't changed at all. So that'll give us sort of a snapshot into where we are as a result of the more recent sales over the past year. And then also talking to the state and to Tyler, the company that did helped us with the revaluation. They did give us a proposal if the town wants to engage their services for them to have a more in-depth analysis over the next couple of months to, again, determine where we are in relationship to sales and the role. So that's a project that they would say would not exceed $10,000. What I would like to recommend to the board, though, is we're hoping to get the evaluation from the state within the next couple of weeks. I'd like to get that.
Not the county?
The state's running the numbers on that. So I want to get the information from the state, which doesn't cost us anything. And let's find out where we are. Let's find out, I'm going to say, the validity of their test of where we are, and then determine next month whether we want to engage the services of an outside contractor to do a more in-depth analysis on it.
See if it's worthwhile.
Pardon?
See if it's worthwhile.
Well, that's the thing. You know, and, I mean, there is a range. It's a complicated process. But again, I would tell you that no one has the magic solution that if you do A, B, and C, you're going to stay at 100%. There are so many variables involved. And the last thing I want to do, and I think the town board will totally agree with me, is I think the role that we have, while everyone may not be happy, but I think it's a fair and balanced role. And the last thing we want to do is start changing a neighborhood or a class of properties and see the role potentially starting to get out of balance. So we want to be very careful about how we do proceed on anything that we do that's going to affect the current role. So we'll have more information next month, Carrie and I will, on the information that we get from the state. Request from the Cornwall Lions Club Fall Festival, Fall Harvest Race. That's going to be held on November 12th, 8:30 to noon. They estimate about 400 racers. I think they've covered all the bases. Chief, I don't think, you're not involved, you minimal?
Yeah, minimal, it just touches into the town by the golf course.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Michael. Discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. The building inspector has written to the town board. Dear board members, I respectfully request you begin proceedings through Chapter 138, Article 2 of the Code. Town of Cornwall, a hazardous dead tree exists on property behind the stone wall fronting on Main Street. The actual address is 67/69 Clinton Street. Parcel is 22-3-4. Numerous limbs and branches that fall into the ground creating a hazardous, unsafe condition for pedestrians and vehicles using Main Street. I've written to both residents listed as owners on the tax records with no success. Your attention to this matter is requested. Very respectfully, Gary Vincent, Building Inspector. So we referred it to the attorney. Attorney has drafted a resolution, which I'll read. Whereas the building inspector has identified a dead tree causing dangerous and hazardous condition existing on the lands of Daniel J. Faudler and Nancy Della Sala, hereinafter the property owner is located at 67/69 Clinton Street, in the town of Cornwall. Orange County, New York, Section 22, Block 3, Lot 4. And whereas the building inspector wrote to the property owners on August 29, 2017, that was Flaudler, and September 13, 2017, De La Sala, advising them that the dead tree had to be removed, and whereas the building inspector has advised the town board that no action has been taken to remove the dead tree, and the submitted report dated October 2nd, 2017, advising the town board of the same that the dangerous condition still exists. Therefore, be it resolved as follows. 1, town board determines that based upon the information provided by the building inspector that a dangerous tree exists on the lands of the property owners, 67/69 Clinton Street, Cornwall, New York, Section 22, Block 3, Lot 4. 2, the town board directs that notice of the existence of dangerous tree be given to the property owners pursuant to the provisions of Section 138-6B of the code, directing that the landowner remove the dead tree within 10 days after service of notice upon the property owner. 3, the supervisor is authorized to direct that an inspection of the dangerous tree be made by the duly appointed tree warden, Town of Cornwall, if the property owner fails to remove the dead tree within the 10-day period provided in Section 138-6B. The supervisor is further authorized to serve a copy of the report of the tree warden upon the property owners pursuant to Section 138-7. 4, the town board hereby authorizes the attorney for the town to proceed with the above pursuant to Chapter 138, Article 2 of the Code of the Town of Cornwall. Is there a motion on the resolution?
Moved.
Move second, discussion. Steve, anything?
The personally served?
We can post, we don't have to personally serve them. We could, it would be better if we could, but if we don't, we can post it at the property.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, I have a letter from the Town of New Windsor Supervisor. It says, as you're aware, the Village of Caristol is currently constructing a water transmission main connecting the village to tap into the New York City Catskill Aqueduct located in the Town of New Windsor. The proposed tap is located at the Town of New Windsor Water Filtration Plant on Riley Road. The proposed route of this main follows Route 32 through the towns of Cornwall and New Windsor to the intersections of routes 94, 32, and 300, i.e. the Vales Gate 5 Corners, then westerly along Route 94 to the intersection of Riley Road. This proposed route raises some serious concerns. Both New Windsor and Cornwall have considerable underground utilities along Route 32 south of Vales Gate, including water and sewer mains. My primary concern, however, was the disruption of traffic flow at Vales Gate 5 Corners, which is at times of the day can only currently be described as a nightmare. Approximately a year ago, I invited Caristol officials and engineers to meet to make them aware of my concerns. I asked that they make an effort to find an alternate route that would avoid the Vales Gate 5 Corners intersection. At that time, I suggested that they might explore the possibility of rerouting the pipeline down Holloran Road under the New York State Thruway to Palomino Place and then back to Route 94 near Riley Road. Yesterday, the village officials returned and presented me with a plan that proposes that exact route. In order to bring this change to fruition, it would require a change to the village's environmental impact statement that must be supported by both the towns of New Windsor and Cornwall. I would suggest that you review the enclosed map, and if you're in agreement, we schedule a meeting with Caristol officials to discuss the details in more depth. Very truly yours, George A. Green, Town Supervisor. Do you want to comment on any?
Well, the concern, I mean, it would be much better if the lines did not run through the 5 corners. Not only, I think we have water lines through there.
We have water and sewer along 32.
Right, and there's a number of other utilities, not to mention the traffic. So the alternate route is certainly appealing in that respect. I was concerned about the sentence that says that the town of Cornwall would have to endorse a change to the village's environmental impact statement. As you know, we're in litigation with them, and SEQRA is a large issue. So I called New Windsor and I spoke with their attorney at some length, and he is going to sound out the village of Curious Joel as to whether it would be all right if the town of Cornwall simply just didn't take a position in regard to any changes to their environmental impact statement. If that doesn't suffice, then we'll have to discuss, how the town can move forward without jeopardizing its ongoing litigation. But I think one way or another, we'll reach an accord and be able to get this done.
Okay, I mean, two concerns we have, and I have shared this with the mayor of the village of Cornwall Hudson, because the village, I believe, has a 16-inch water main that comes from the filtration plant on the west side of 32, under the Thruway and down Holland Road, so that's of real concern. And also, we would have concerns also with regard to the town roads that the project would be going through. So we'll be following up then, and probably have to have a meeting to discuss in more detail.
I think we're gonna have to meet with New Windsor and maybe KJ as well.
Okay.
It's interesting that Cornwall and Hudson wasn't copied on the letter. I mean, aren't they a separate
Well-
Do
entity?
you think the Windsor's aware of that?
Well, this came from the Windsor,
Yeah.
so, I mean, the Windsor may not
No.
be aware of what facilities the village has. But they're notified. I've given the mayor a copy, and matter of fact, back in June, May or June, when this first came to our attention, I spoke with Bob June, the water superintendent, and the mayor about it. So we've all really been on the same page with regard to the possibility.
They have the same issue, right, because they're in the litigation with us?
Well, I think it's a different situation, because right now, we're looking at the environmental review, which actually goes through the town.
Yeah, nobody's asking Cornwall and Hudson to sign off on
Right.
this, so I'm sure it hasn't come up yet.
The town is just involved in that. But the village should be, you know, we're partners in many ways, so the village should definitely be a part.
Not only the filtration plant, but from there back to the tap on the aqueduct that the
Right.
village has.
Right,
Yeah.
so. Okay, so we will have follow-up on that. Let's see. The Conservation Advisory Council has requested approval to partner with Hudson River Estuary Program and Cornell University in development of a scenic resources inventory. Inventory to be developed at no cost to the town by Cornell University students as part of a landscape architecture and planning class. I have a resolution to that effect, whereas the Cornwall Conservation Advisory Council, CCAC, has requested the town board authorize the CCAC to work with Cornell University and the Hudson River Estuary Program for the development of a scenic resources inventory for the village and town of Cornwall. Whereas the inventory would be developed by Cornell University students at no cost to the village or town, and therefore be resolved as follows. One, the town board does hereby authorize the CCAC on behalf of the town to work with Cornell University and Hudson River Estuary Program for the development of a scenic resources inventory for the village and town of Cornwall. And two, town board authorizes the supervisor to take such actions and execute any such documents as may be necessary and appropriate. A motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? Move second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next is the request from the CCAC for them to participate in the Route 218 cleanup, October 22nd from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Is there a motion approved?
So moved.
Moved, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, I have a resolution on town text alerts, which has been a topic of discussion off and on the system that we have and how it should be utilized. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town board of the town of Cornwall has established a text alert system through which residents could receive notice of text alerts from the town of Cornwall about emergency situations or incidents, police department notices, closures of municipal offices, refuse scheduling, schedule changes, recreation program cancellations, and like. Whereas it is appropriate for the town board to establish a policy setting forth the intended use of the text alert system and circumstances under which text alerts will be broadcast by the town. And whereas the town board has discussed the potential uses of the text alert system and policy which the town should follow in regard to broadcasting text alerts. Now therefore be resolved as follows. One, that the town of Cornwall text alert system will be used primarily to send notification to residents and businesses regarding emergencies affecting the entire town or substantial portions thereof, such as extreme weather events or any incidents involving widespread threats to persons or property in the town. And two, that the town of Cornwall text alert system may also be used to send notifications at the discretion of the town supervisor to residents and businesses regarding police department notices or situations posing imminent damage to persons or property in only a portion of the town due to events such as forest fires, chemical spills, building collapses, water emergencies, and the like. And three, the town of Cornwall text alert system may also be used to send notifications at the discretion of the town board to residents and businesses regarding such other matters that the town board may by resolution determine is appropriate. And four, that nothing in this policy for use of the town of Cornwall text alert system hereby adopted shall be deemed or construed to impose any duty whatsoever on the town of Cornwall to issue any alerts or as creating any special duty to any individual or group of individuals to issue text alerts or warnings of any kind. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion.
There wasn't a resolution prior to this, or does this define what was understood to be the intent of the alert system.
Well, I can't speak to what the intent of it was. I wasn't here when that was put in place. But I think one thing that I think we can accomplish is, by adopting this resolution, is through our website and through our the town's Facebook, that we can arrange for other notices on things such as recreation, if there's cancellation of events due to weather or whatever. But there's the other issues that are out there are not deemed emergencies, and I think that's what we sort of want to differentiate about. But also by sort of boosting our website for communication and also the town Facebook page, we can draw more people to view those items and actually to receive information from the town in a broader scale than what we do with the text alerts. Right now, there are only about 600 people that are signed up for the text alerts in the entire town. So I think we want to educate the public that we, will put more information on the websites and through the town Facebook on all these other items, but that we want to define the text alert system to deal with the emergencies and all, as really spelled out in the resolution.
Right. Well, in the last 2 years, there have been 38 posts on the town's Facebook page. 2/3 of those have been regarding the pool. Waiting pool is open, waiting pool is closed. So we're not currently making any use of the Facebook page currently. The village, on the other hand, going back to the end of May, they've had 38 posts since May. So they make good use of it, everything from heat advisories to air pollution alerts for the elderly. They do a very good job of disseminating information so that people who are on the go, who aren't at home, have good information on things that are important in Cornwall from a health and safety standpoint.
Well, I think that's the point that I made, Michael, is we want to differentiate
Right, but
between...
how are we going to do that? Who's going to do that now? Because nobody's doing it now. Who's going to do it in the future?
Well, that's exactly what I started out with, is by saying that we're going to try to beef up the communication. It's going to have to come through my office, through departments, disseminating information.
Okay. Well, you personally aren't active in social media, so it's hard to understand how you would.
I'm not going to do it.
things.
I'm not going to do it.
That's good.
That's how, there are 100 employees in the town. I'm not going to be posting on Facebook
Okay, so
for the
it's
town.
up to department heads to determine whether or not
Yeah.
it goes up.
Well, we will, but we will do it. We'll have a system in place where we're going to generate some of this information. It may not be as much as you'd like, because I know you're on social media every day, which is fine. But also, I just want to also add that there is, just so the public knows, www.nyalert.gov. It says that's available. It can warn people of extreme weather conditions, hazardous material spills, road closures, terrorist attacks, and much more. So there are a number of other sources and resources. And Michael, I think at one point, we had talked about it, and you were going to try to gather other links that people could sign up for. So we can put that information out when we get it, to let people know that they can go to X, Y, and Z, sign up for whatever information they want, and this will be a service to those who are interested in getting certain types of information.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay? Is there a motion? We did the motion, we did a second, roll call.
There is one thing, I'm sorry, just, there's a typo in the second paragraph, the third line down. It says posing imminent damage, it should say posing imminent danger. So I'd just like to have that noted before the board votes.
And I'm-
Apologize for the typo.
Spell check, didn't
Well, because it's spelled correctly.
Exactly.
Could be me.
roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next is a simple request from the chamber. They would like permission to use Bridge Street apron for the Shop Hop breakfast on November 25th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So motion approved?
So move.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. We have last week we did a change order for, I think it was Blue Hand, the contractor, and this is for Olympic Electric. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town has awarded the Shore Road STP electric contract to Olympic Electric of the Hudson Valley, whereas the town's consulting engineers have recommended a change order to said contract to incorporate federal wage decision number NY 170007, modification 6 into the project contract. Now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby approves the above change order incorporating the federal wage decision into the project contract. It's the same as we did last week for Greenhound. Is there a motion on the resolution?
Second.
Move second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Have a letter from the Orange County Office for the Aging, enclosed please find amendment number 1 to the lease agreement for the senior dining facility located in Munger Cottage. Amendment renews and extends the lease to cover the period January 1st, 2018 through December 31, 2018. And a resolution, whereas the town of Cornwall has received an agreement to lease agreement, an amendment to the lease agreement from the Office for the Aging between the County of Orange and the town of Cornwall for the senior dining facility located in Munger Cottage, whereas it would be in the best interest of the town to enter into the amendment with the county. Now therefore be resolved as follows. Town board hereby agrees to enter into the amendment to lease agreement for the senior dining facility annexed here too, and made part of this resolution and authorize the supervisor to execute the same. So motion?
Second.
Move second, discussion.
What is the amendment exactly? Are they adding the kitchen onto the existing one?
No, it's just extending the current lease that we have.
Oh.
It's an annual thing we do. Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Let's see, Next, I have filming TV show Escape from Dannemora. I know this all sounds familiar. This is another location that they want to do another scene or something to shoot from. So it's at 108 Sycamore, excuse me, Sycamore Drive, New Windsor. Escape from Dannemora. Chief, I think they've been in touch with you
Yes.
for assistance, interested in shooting an establishing shot of the house. Traffic's under control. They have all the insurance. Is there a motion to approve the request?
Second.
Move second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Have an email regarding the farmer's market. Town of Cornwall Recreation Department requesting to hold the fall farmer's market at the Sands Ring Homestead on Saturday, October 28th from 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. Since the homestead is decorated for fall and the Friends of the Sands Ring will be providing tours of the homestead during the market hours, this is the perfect venue for the market this time of the year. So, moving it from the front of the town hall over to Sands Ring. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. During the last, well, maybe even finished up this year, but we installed new water meters over at the Firthcliffe Heights Water District at all the properties. And most of the meters that were taken out were original, probably dating back to the mid-'60s when the district was formed. And speaking with Mike Tremper from KMO, who operates the sewer plant, also works with us on the Firthcliffe Heights, we discussed getting rid of, or the value of the old meters. And I had Mike write a memo, this is following up in a conversation what to do with the individual meters once they've been replaced with new ones. The old meters have no value to be reused as water meters. The only value they have is for salvage. The fact that they're bronze adds to salvage worth. Further questions, please give me a call. So I'd just like a motion to declare the old meters surplus and to be able to scrap them for whatever value they hold.
So moved.
Second? Carrie, did you second that?
Yes.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Received a call from the New York State DOT today. As we know, from the Luna Bridge on 32 north to the town line, DOT put out a contract and did extensive work, drainage work and improvements in preparation of paving. And the paving was going to take place next year. But I got a call from DOT and contacted by Assemblyman Skoufis, who stated that the project has been moved up to this year. As a matter of fact, it's been moved up to start next Monday. So DOT is going to do it in-house rather than going out to contract to reduce the cost to be able to complete it during this this fiscal year. So I do want to say that this will go on for about 2 weeks. They estimate they will have some lane closures. They'll maintain traffic. They're going to try to maintain 2 lanes, one in each direction, but at some point in time, they may have one traffic where it's going to be alternating. But they're aware of it, they have a plan for doing it, and I think we'll all be very pleased to get that stretch of Route 32 finally repaved, because it's pothole city. You know, I've hit the same pothole. I keep saying to myself, how do you do that? You know, how do you drive down that road every day, 3 times a day, and hit that same pothole? But it happens. But hopefully we'll get a nice smooth driving surface.
Unfortunately, how long the project will be?
2 weeks. 2 weeks, actually, they say 2 weeks and 2 days. They think it'll take 2 weeks, but they put in 2 extra days, they're saying, in case there's rain days.
Unfortunately, it's right in line with the pipeline, ripping it back up again.
Coming up,
32.
32.
So they put it down and they get tripped up.
If they ever extend the pipeline.
Amazing.
Well, hopefully, it may only go to Holland Road, so.
Amazing. It's the Department of Transportation, they approved it.
Well, it's not, I wouldn't point the finger at DOT. DOT's trying to maintain the roads and all. They can't,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all agree that nobody really knows when this next leg of the KJ pipeline is going to go forward. I don't want to keep driving on the roads that are tearing up everybody's car, so I'm happy to have the DOT do it, and then KJ will have to deal with the DOT when they come through and tear up any section of the road. So I guess, we don't live in a perfect world, but we do want perfect roads. Okay, a request from the highway superintendent, subject petroleum bulk storage compliance workshop, requesting that the superintendent and highway clerk be able to attend the workshop in Poughkeepsie on November 9th. Is there a motion approved?
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Committee reports. Councilwoman Bunt?
Okay, so I'll start with Gary's report from building department. Permits issued 20, CCs 10, COs 2, on-site inspections 43, complaints investigated 3, fire inspections 16, signs removed 8, permit fees $4,319, permit renewals 50, fees for municipal searches $6,300, planning board projects open 2, and zoning board there are none. So that's it from there. And for the senior committee, the calendar is pretty busy for October. They do keep our seniors pretty active. I did go to the Hotsy-Totsy thing. They tried to draft me, but anyway, we did have a senior picnic, and almost 100 seniors did attend. It was very, very successful. The town businesses participated. My Butterhill kids went out and got donations. People took ads. We distributed the ads to the seniors, and hopefully they will go to some of those stores that help provide the funds to give them the picnic. It was very successful, and we're going to try to make it an annual event. And the next event that we'll have, which will be in the spring when everybody is back, because they go away for the winter, a lot of them, not me, we're going to do Seniors Have Talent, because they do. So that's it.
Okay, Councilman Summerfield.
The Cornwall Conservation Advisory Council met last Wednesday. The high point of the meeting was a conference call with Cornell University Associate Professor George Franz. He's going to be running the scenic resources inventory that's going to be taking place over the next 6 months or so. They have 6 to 7 students that are going to be dedicated to Cornwall. They've recently done projects like this in Esopus, Hyde Park, and they're also at the same time working with Beacon and Poughkeepsie to not just create an inventory, but to also create vision for what is the most valuable scenic resources that Cornwall has and how we can go about saving it and preserving it for the future. And we know that the Open Space Institute has done a lot of work in Cornwall already around the trestle and the farmlands that have been saved or secured from future development. The cleanup for Route 218 is going to be Sunday, October 22nd, 9 till 12. Did we move it up?
8 to 10.
8 to 10.
December 6th is a holiday party for the CCAC. And we just wanted to note the village of Cornwall on Hudson has just contracted or approved to install dual charge meters for electric cars in the village hall parking lot. And they're doing it, I guess, on a 20% match. They will be joining Goshen, Newburgh, and Woodbury Common as the only sites that are available in this area. The one in Newburgh is at Cosimo's. You say Cosimo's, right? And I'm sure I missed something, but that's it.
Anything further? That's it. Councilman Russell.
For the police department for September, there were 811 calls for service. There were 39 motor vehicle accidents reported. There were 9 911 hang-ups or misdials. 45 alarms, both residential and business. 36 ambulance requests. 9 animal complaints. 10 disabled vehicles. 24 suspicious vehicles or persons. 8 house checks and 22 assists for other agencies. Nothing else to report from the police. For sewer department, for Shore Road, on top of routine maintenance at both Shore Road, also at the Beaver Dam pump station, they report that all measured parameters were within permit limits for the Shore Road facility. For Firth Cliff, also for September 2017, on top of routine maintenance, all parameters were within permit limits with the exception again of flow. So again, our I-9 problems continue on the Firth Cliff plant as well. So it's not a cost we can defer someday in the future. Recreation department, boys basketball signups are beginning Wednesday, October 11th through Wednesday, October 18th. Grades 1 through 7, it's $70 per player. There's going to be a driver safety course hosted by AARP at Munger Cottage on Saturday, November 18th. The cost is $20 for AARP members and $25 for non-members. And then also the West Point Holiday Concert is Sunday, December 3rd at Eisenhower Hall. There'll be a bus 11:30 departure, $8 per Cornwall senior. Non-resident seats will open up on November 22nd. That's all I have from recreation.
Thank you. Councilman McGinnis.
For the month, the highway and sanitation departments did roadside mowing townwide, cleaned up the walkways with weed eaters. Help sanitation department patch crews with hot mix asphalt, regraded and applied materials at seasonal roads. Sweeper went townwide, cleaning and painting highway garage, exterior and interior. Dug out and put material town hall dumpsters. Prep Academy Avenue extension for patching. Prep Business District for sidewalk sale. Litter patrol in town, and help town hall with dead trees, stumps, and removal and cleanup. On the comprehensive plan, there will be a public input meeting tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at Munger Cottage. The committee is hoping to have a lot of public input to our process thus far. Our consultant and attorney will speak tomorrow evening to let the public know what our process is, and we will introduce all of the committee members. The online survey, we hope to have online and ready to go last Friday. Our planning consultant has met with some technical difficulties, hopefully, that will hopefully be ironed out very shortly. And the online survey will be available through a link on the town website. The committee itself is not planning to meet until after the first of the year, so that the survey should be up for a long time and hopefully we'll get a lot of participation from the town residents in filling out that survey. It will help the committee make their proper assumptions. That's all I have.
Okay. I do have,
Can I ask a question?
oh, go ahead, sure.
Jerry, are there any documents online or anything that people can read ahead of time?
Not right now.
And that actually, once they get back together in January, then they'll start pulling together the documents actually, Michael. This has been pretty much a review of eliminating things and looking at different areas and all, so.
The previous plans, I know, are available hard copy if you're here.
I think they're online.
They're online.
Yeah, the comprehensive
They're
plan is online. Yep. Okay, I do have a report from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. They met, they meet again on October 26th with vacations and all. They had one meeting canceled, another meeting with low attendance, but activities, Cornwall Rising, continuing to discuss with stakeholders related to Cornwall Rising proposal, including the town supervisor, Chamber of Commerce members, property and business owners on Main Street. The next step there is communicating the changes and concept drawing based on those conversations to Barton and Lejudas, and proceed to final concept rendering. Parallel times of continued discussions with stakeholders, solicit feedback from the public. They say during the spectacular, that must be at the Halloween event, they're going to be looking for input. Status check-in with D&L regarding funding outline and initial grant. Chamber survey members review Chamber of Commerce members' public survey draft and offered suggestions. Initiatives under consideration, asset inventory based on similar documents produced in a resort that they saw in Nova Scotia, researching architectural review boards, and partnering with the Chamber on survey results related to desired new business among members and public. So I have warrant number 10. There's a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Move second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Rendell?
Yes, motion carried. Public comment? Any issues? Yes, Nancy.
Nancy Bryan, Town of Cornwall. First question, the letters for the committee, not the committee, I'm sorry, the ad hoc group
Right.
for the museum advisory to the board, is there a date set for when you need those letters back by?
Well,
Is that-
during the next month, I would say by next month's meeting, we'd like to have the letters.
Okay, that being said, I would just encourage the board to, two items. One, I certainly, my expectations as a town resident is that the Historic Society, at least 2 members, I would say 2 would be a fair number, that from their group, at least two of their members are on that committee for their input, but also that the remaining members are made up of a diversity of opinions, so that neither way is stacked. And I think I would certainly ask the board and charge the board with that, so that it's certainly a fair process, not slanted one way or the
Right.
other.
No, I fully expect, Nancy, that's what we do. We're really going to, we want to have a group that's going to go out there and gather information and discuss it, within the context. Some may have some real expertise beyond the Historical Society representation, but other people that have, knowledge and understanding about museums and, what would be beneficial.
But also a diversity of what those opinions were.
Absolutely.
'Cause
No,
I was
we
at that
definitely will
one.
be looking for that.
I was at that meeting. The other thing I just want to comment on quickly is, I thank you for moving forward with the text alerts. I know there's been a lot of back and forth with that. And sometimes when you're in emergency services, you certainly have a different point of view as those that may not be involved in that. But I applaud you for moving forward with text alerts being for true emergencies. And I go back to Hurricanes Irene and Sandy, where there was information, not through text alerts, that went out about where shelters would be, and then it reversed, and it was not clear where people could evacuate to, or power went out, where they could go go to. And so that certainly is those sorts of things. So I applaud your resolution, and I think that that's a positive step forward. And then using social media for other people that are for different types of information. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, anyone else? Yes, Carla?
I want to thank the board for supporting the work of Cornell University students in the creation of a scenic resources inventory and in advancing the conservation and environmental related work as a result of all these different inventories that are being considered or under works by the CAC. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I signed up for nyalert.gov while we were speaking, and it was pretty easy.
Good, thank you.
There's one other thing, Carl, you want to mention the community conversations, I skipped over that. For Cornell?
Oh, yes, sorry. They are going to be collecting the information from, they want to know from the public which are the scenic areas that you all love to go to, that we all love to go to. So there's going to be a meeting at the library on the I will have to get home, is it 29th? 29th, I think it is 29th, 29th from 1 to 3, but it's going to be on the library's calendar of October. So if you are really interested in going, please check the library's calendar. I'm sorry, I don't have those notes on me today.
It is the 29th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing no one, I entertain a motion to go into closed session to seek the advice of counsel.
I just got a question before we close.
Go ahead, Peter.
I just needed an update on the cell phone tower legislation, allegedly on the right-of-ways. Do we have an update on that?
I believe.
No, it won't. They're going to reintroduce it in January, so there's nothing in this current session that addresses it. It never made it out of committee last year, or this current year.
So it was something that just was proposed and never came out of committee.
Correct.
And then also on Continental Road, I just want to point out, I went down Continental Road, and the trees down there, that area's been restored by the utility, and the trees in question look like they're damages from age and proximity to the roadway and exposure to road salt. So it looks like pre-existing damage on the trees. But that whole area's been restored by the utility back to the way it was supposed to be.
Thank
You won't see the actual damage for another couple of years, the root damage that's.
Like I said, it's pre-existing age and proximity to the roadway and road salt.
Well, I will say too, I did go up to Continental Road the day after the meeting and spoke to the foreman of the project, and he gave the logical reasons why they went on that side of the road, so not interfere with people's driveways. And also, that his indication was, and the trees do sit up from the road, that they really didn't tear out roots and all, but the job is done. We'll see what the future holds, but they're old, most of them are old cedar trees, I think a lot of them, and they've been beat up over the many years that they've been there, but. Okay, is there a motion to go into closed session, seek the advice of counsel?
So moved.
Move second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Fund?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Thank you all very much for coming.
Do you need me to stay?
No, we're not going to.
Okay.